Quasi here, and in this video I'm going to share with you a formula for semen retention and really how to become a complete conscious creator of your reality. This was something that was absolutely crucial for me in my journey as a manifester, in my journey as a creator of my own reality, and this is going to be something that's extremely powerful for you as well. Okay, semen retention has been something that's been blowing up lately, but also what I've noticed is there are a lot of yogic, it dates back to really a very, very long time ago when these practices were being observed. So what I'm going to share with you here is completely going to change your life. So I really want you to stick around to the very end of this video, pay close attention, because I'm going to reveal to you a formula based on the different ages and how long you should actually be retaining your semen and how to actually transmute your sex energy into something more useful for your life. Before I begin this video, I wanted to quickly announce that a couple of spots have opened up for the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery Program. So make sure you wait around until the end of the video for the announcement on how to sign up for that. And with that, let's get started. So today I want to talk to you about semen retention and really share with you kind of a formula to help you transmute your own sexual energy instead of spilling it, instead of leading to that compulsion. Actually consciously use it to a point where it starts to reflect out into every single other area of your life that you want to rejuvenate. Now, the thing with semen and sperm is it's a very, very powerful fluid. Okay? In yoga, in Ayurveda, it's said that it takes 40 drops of blood to manufacture 1 drop of semen. So given that, you can imagine how powerful this fluid really is. And to really think about it, this is the very source of creation, right? 1 drop of this can literally produce another human being. Can you imagine how powerful that is? And if we just go around spreading it on our bed sheets instead of actually using that energy somehow to achieve higher and higher heights in our lives, it doesn't really make sense. So with that being said, what I want you to know first of all is that 1 drop of semen is produced by 40 drops of blood. Okay, this shows the significance that this has. There's been a lot of science and a lot of BS on, you must spill your seed and must, maintain a regular flow in it. And, you must come every 7 days or every 5 days. But that just makes you more and more compulsive. Society wants to keep you in that compulsive state. That's how pornographic companies, they make their profit. But really, once you understand the power that this fluid really has and retaining it really has, it starts to make you think and see from a completely different perspective, right? So understand that what retention really does is, it doesn't just go away somehow and magically vanish and your testes don't explode. What happens is when you retain, it actually gets reabsorbed back into the bloodstream, okay? So what happens is when this gets reabsorbed, when your semen gets reabsorbed, it goes into the bloodstream, which is then again used to revitalize your brain. You should definitely look up into that. There's a lot of studies around, a lot of Taoist philosophies, which teach you that, if you retain it, this energy actually now becomes available to you. How does this happen? In a simple manner. If we look at this channel that we have, right? This is 1 channel and 1 flow of energy. And let's say energy is flowing this way. So if I were to more accurately draw this, let's say, we want to, I'll draw it better. We want to get our energies to point in 1 direction, right? Energy is going this way. Now there are no leaks in this channel, so there's no problem. When you start to add semen, when you start to ejaculate a lot and waste this energy, you have a gap here. You have another gap here. Then you have other compulsions, right? Pornography, other things that give you that dopamine spike, excessively watching that TV show, excessively doing a habit, smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, whatever it is, all of those habits that give you that dopamine spike and help you cope. All of those add more and more leaks to this. Now the energy isn't fully going in this direction, but what's happening is it's leaking out here. It's leaking out here. It's leaking out here. It's leaking out here. If you could solely focus your attention, your energy on 1 single direction unwaveringly, achieving that goal becomes a piece of cake. Really think about it. Anytime you achieved this goal, you had an unwavering focus towards that, right? You had an unwavering focus towards that because you really liked to do it. If you got all of the sort of enjoyment, all of the sort of dopamine spike that you're getting from smoking weed, from masturbating, from watching pornographic material, from watching TV, if you got that same high from achieving your goals, you would naturally direct it in that direction, right? This is also why procrastination happens, because you just look at what you want and what you know you need to do, and then you start to say, oh, that's too much of a challenge. Oh, that's too hard. Oh, I can't do that. So then you actually give in to the lower pleasures of life. There are two types of pleasures of life, if you will. There are the higher pleasures of life and the lower pleasures, right? So if we were to draw out the higher and lower pleasures of life, what it would look like is the lower pleasures of life give you a spike and then bring you back down, right? You get an instant high and then you come back down. The higher pleasures of life are more sustainable, okay? So it builds up slowly, but it's actually more sustainable in the longer term. So if this were to denote time and intensity, the y-axis is intensity, x-axis is time, what it would look like is the higher pleasures take a little bit time to build up to. To give you an example, you're sacrificing to build up an awesome business, client results, maybe even your YouTube channel. You're making a lot of videos, you're not kind of seeing the results that are coming yet, but then over time, all of this compounds. And because this compounds, you start to see over a period of a year, over a period of you making 100 videos, 200 videos, 300 videos, all of a sudden you start to see your old videos starting to do really well because those topics were resonating with those people, right, who it didn't resonate with when you initially made it. But now this is a popular topic and people are searching it up. So now these videos are becoming very, very popular, but now you're reaping the rewards of the work that you did 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Do you see what's happening? It takes a little bit of time to build up the higher pleasures of life, but it's sustained. Now when those videos become popular, your business starts to thrive, you start to get more clients, more interest, your brand grows, as opposed to doing high intensity, shorter term pleasure activities like just jerking off. It leaves you off with less energy, right? If you keep spilling your seed, you're going to be left with less energy. Something crazy happens when you start to retain your semen, right? All of these holes, not only do they start to get sealed, but you start to become less and less compulsive about everything that you do. You'll start to see that you need less sleep to function. You need less this and that to function. You can just function and you have this natural drive about you. Now, there are different ideas on how long you should be doing it, how many days you should be going. Oh, you should be going 300 days. If you could, then you should. But what happens is there's a sweet spot to this, right? There's always a balance to this. But the biggest problem is people either get too dogmatic about it or they either get too, oh no, this is all bullshit. If I don't spill my seed, I'll get cancer. And then they just, keep jerking off every single day. So none of these two are effective. You've got to find the sweet spot that's for you, okay? If you're doing semen retention and you become too dogmatic about it, that's a huge problem. If you have a partner who's unsatisfied because you keep, doing semen retention and you can't have sex, or even if you do have sex, you won't come, and your partner really wants you to, then that becomes a problem as well. So you've got to find the sweet spot in both of these, and that's what I'm going to share with you, okay? A formula that's going to really help you do that. But what I want you to understand is it's not the semen retention, it's the general principle behind it. When you abstain from doing any activity, when you abstain from smoking weed, when you put down the shorter term and you sacrifice the shorter term pleasures in order to build something beautiful for your life in the longer term, that's when you start to see that fulfillment, that dopamine spike that you get. It becomes more and more maintained, it becomes more and more lasting. It's kind of like getting into a deep meditative state. When you're in a deep meditative state, it becomes very, very powerful because these feelings that you get, that feeling of absolute stillness and presence, you can carry it within you to every single activity that you do in your life. Okay, you start to become more and more in control of how you feel within, as opposed to becoming reactive. You now no longer need to watch that show. You no longer need to eat that sugar. You no longer need to check that social media account, that Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. You no longer need to jack off. But now you can draw this state from within. This is what I want possible for you. Okay, this is when you reach reality creator status. When you reach that status, what happens is now you can become proactive in every single thing that you do in your life. You can bring this proactive and this creator energy and actually, build easily and manifest your goals much easier, as opposed to it being such a struggle, as opposed to you moving 2 steps forward and 1 step back and then 3 steps forward and taking another step back. Now you can move 3 steps forward without taking any steps back. Okay? So understand that the biggest problem becomes compulsion. Let's define what we mean by this word, by the way. Compulsion essentially means living life as you have been living up until now. Okay? There is in yoga, there is what we call karma. Karma means literally action. It literally translates to action. Action in the form of internal, your thoughts and your emotions and your energy. Action in the form of physical action. So understand that any action that you take will always have a reaction. It will always have a counter force. It will always produce a consequence. So every consequence that you're seeing right now is all a result of that unconscious living. You can push your karma out the way you would like it and direct your life the way you would like it if you can become conscious. The whole point of spirituality is to become more and more conscious every single day. When you keep unconsciously spilling your seed, it becomes an unconscious cycle. Again, it's a compulsion. The opposite of consciousness is compulsion. The more conscious you become, the more you eliminate all of these compulsions and the more you start to become a true creator of your reality. Okay? So compulsion literally means continuing on unconsciously in that karmic cycle that you've been living up until now. It takes a little bit of energy to break out of compulsion, a little bit of willpower to break out of compulsion. Because right now you're going in a cycle, but you want to break free from this cycle. In order to break free, you've got to exert a little bit of energy. You've got to do something uncomfortable, something you haven't done before. Okay? And in order to do that, there needs to be a good enough reason to do so. Right? People do things out of 2 different motivations. Once they hit their tipping point where they say, nope, it can't continue on like this anymore. They make that powerful decision to say, nope, fuck it, I can't go on like this anymore. Things have got to change. That's when they make that decision. Or they're actually driven by pleasure, right? In order to generate this momentum, you've got to make that powerful decision to break out of your current cycle and make that unwavering decision that you're going to do everything that is needed for that longer term, what you want to create for your life. Every single person should determine their own destiny. Right? Every single person here should determine their own destiny. No one should be living an unconscious, compulsive cycle. This is your right as a human being to be living the life that you actually want to live. So understand that your compulsive patterns are starting to reflect out in here and here. And the thing that's missing, the thing that will help you break out of compulsion is first of all being aware of your cycle. Being aware of your patterns of existence. How are you living your life every single day? Because without awareness, the choice doesn't even become available. And the biggest problem is, even when people become aware, there's still a level of unawareness and unconsciousness in there. Because you still keep telling yourself the same stories, right? And keep making the same excuses. Oh, I'm like this because I've been like this my entire life. That's bullshit. You're just making that excuse to let yourself off the hook. Take full responsibility. Taking full responsibility is also one of the most powerful things you can do. Because if you can tell yourself, where I am right now, and fully realize this, by the way, where I am right now in my life is all because of me. Not because of some external thing, not because of how society brought me up, even though it probably might be, but I'm responsible to the point where I can respond to how things move forward from this point on. I can choose to stop telling myself these stories from this point on. Okay? So understand that the biggest problem is compulsion. Breaking out of compulsion requires a level of awareness and a level of energy that you've got to expend to help you break out of this cycle into... What happens is when you break out of a smaller cycle, you again enter a larger cycle. But then you enter another bigger cycle. And this cycle eventually turns into a straight line. It gets so big, you'll still always be in the cycle because this is physical existence. Unless and until you can reach that enlightenment, you'll still be in that cycle. But the cycle just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you start to become in control of how you push your karmic energy out. So understand that compulsion is the problem, and what we want to do is get more and more the energy of the creator. Seriously, if you haven't tried semen retention, try it. There are different levels to it, by the way. So click up here to check out a video I made on that, the 5 different levels of semen retention. The bottom is where you begin off and you just, jerk off to porn, then you jerk off to nothing, and then you just have sex with your partner, no masturbation, and the highest level of all is just complete brahmacharya or complete celibacy, right? You don't have to do that. There are different levels to it. You can choose what you want to do. Again, the key is to not become dogmatic about this. If you really want to do this, make it a conscious choice that from this point on X amount of days, this is what you'll be doing, and stay true to your word. If you can stay true to your word, you'll start to stay true to your word in other aspects of your life. When you say to yourself, I'm going to go to the gym, you go to the gym. When you say to yourself, I'm going to wake up at 7 a.m., you wake up at 7 a.m. No excuses, right? When you start to show up for yourself, your life starts to show up for you, right? So now I want to share with you the formula to help you really have a system to, retain your semen and at the same time not feel too dogmatic about it. This is something I got from this Taoist book by Mantak Chia. It's called the Multi-Orgasmic Man. If you haven't read it, I'll urge you to check it out. It's a very good book, very good knowledge in there. But what I want you to understand is based on your age, there's a formula. Okay, so this is the formula. If you're 20 years old, 20 to 30, right? You're in your 20s, you want to spill your seed no more than once every 4 days, right? Once every 4 days. Why? Why is this important? Why is this powerful? You have a certain level of vitality or chi energy, if you will, within you. When you're 20, this chi energy functions at a certain level. There's a certain level of vibrancy to it. You'll see that when you ejaculate, you lose all of this energy. You feel drained and depleted. It also depends on how you ejaculate. If you're getting a lot of head high from ejaculating, and this only happens from watching porn, it'll drain you even more because your dopamine spike is getting to a very high level in a very short period of time. So there's that loan that needs to be repaid off. That's why we had that graph of you going sharply up and then coming back down. There's always that debt that needs to be paid off. So because of that, when you come back down very, very sharp, you've got to pay that depletion of energy, and that's why it makes you feel depleted. Just like with any dopamine spikes. If you have a very sharp dopamine rush from doing drugs like cocaine, you're going to have to pay that debt back within the next couple of days. Even with caffeine, you need to pay that debt back, right? So if you're in your 20s, once every 4 days, that's what you got to do. If you're in your 30s, the recommended amount is once every 8 days. All right? So every 8 days, you're allowed to ejaculate once. If you're in your 40s, it's once every 16 days. So if you're a 40-year-old, you can ejaculate once every 16 days and still maintain that level of vibrancy. If you're in your 50s, it's actually once every 21 days. And finally, if you're in your 60s, it's once every 30 days. All right? So I think in the book there was an example of this 60-year-old guy or 70-year-old guy who went once every 100 days. There's also another formula, the Taoist formula, that says every time you engage in sexual activity, it should be 20% of the time. So if you were to have sex 10 times, only out of those 2 times you would ejaculate, right? So there are different methodologies to go about this and to retain, but I don't want to get lost into all of those details. But what you want to understand is, again, if you keep spilling it every single day, if you keep doing it unconsciously, and you get sucked into this way of just spilling your seed, your life will never be under your control. You will always be subject to someone else's control, some social media, some porn site, or something else will always be controlling you. If you want to start to take full control of your life, it's time to start saying no to your preconditioned patterns and exert a little bit of energy to abstain and break out of it. Okay? And with that, I conclude this video. I do hope sincerely that this was helpful. I know this was a different kind of video. I wanted to keep it short for you guys, but let's do a quick recap. Why I talk about semen retention is because sincerely, this is one of the most powerful ways. This is something that's completely helped me change my life. When I actually consciously started to control it, and I just stopped any unconscious pattern in my life, whether this be with jerking off, whether this be with having sex, whether this be with eating sugar. Recently, I cut out sugar, huge benefits. I'm sleeping better, I'm waking up earlier, I have a lot more energy levels during the day, a lot of benefits, right? It's not the most pleasing, you don't get the highest dopamine spike because you just crave that sugar, but for the first couple of days it's difficult, but then afterwards you feel really good, right? So today we talked about the semen retention formula, and what we talked about was how semen is literally reality creative fluid. It's literally reality creative fluid because you can use this to make a baby, which can sprout into a human being such as yourself, right? So 40 drops of blood is used to produce 1 drop of semen. And that tells you how powerful this liquid is. It's called vidya in yoga. In Sanskrit, it's called vidya, which literally means life force, right? And understand that retention, when you retain your semen, it actually gets reabsorbed back into the bloodstream. It doesn't just go away. It gets reabsorbed back into the bloodstream, goes to your brain, and actually rejuvenates your brain, your intellectual abilities. You'll see that when you go on semen retention, you'll start to get great ideas, and creativity will start to come out of you because this is creative force. This is the creator's energy, right? And understand, that this is the energy of the creator, but also the biggest pitfall with all of this is having a general compulsive pattern in your life. The more compulsive you are, the more reactive you are, the less proactive you are, the less of a creator you are. If you want to create anything beautiful in your life, there's a great book about this. It's called Think and Grow Rich, and in that chapter of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talks about sex transmutation and how he started to study the lives of people who are 40 and 50 years old and above, and how they started to gain success at that age. And what confounded him was, why did they start to become so successful in their 40s and in their 50s and in their 60s? It's because they started to have less sex. It's because they started to spill their seed less, and they could transmute. This is transmutation. When you seal all of these gaps, okay? All of these gaps can be sealed up by eliminating those dopamine spiking activities or those compulsive activities that you engage in every single day. So I want you to look at your life objectively. Take a step back and look at your life and look at all of those things that you really like to do and you really feel good doing. Are those really serving you? Are those giving you a quick dopamine spike? Can you go without them? We had a guy in the Reality Mastery program. He's, I think, 19 years old. He went from doing 0 a month in his business. He has an HVAC business, to going from 0 to making 9K a month in recurring revenue, getting clients into his business. Why was he able to do it? I see 30, 40, even 20-year-olds who are not able to get that kind of business success, and they always hit a wall with every single effort that they put in. It's because, I remember he made a full commitment to go in this direction, and he posted a picture of him smashing up his PS4 and saying, nope, no more compulsive patterns from me for now. So that's, again, him putting those dreams, those short-term pleasures aside for those longer-term pleasures, those dreams that he actually had for his life and actually has for his life, and making that committed decision to do so, right? So please understand that whenever you sacrifice these shorter-term pleasures and these short dopamine spikes and highs, you seal up those channels for that longer-term pleasure, which takes a little bit more time to build up, but gives you more of a sustained high, okay? And what we talked about towards the end was the formula that you can use, right? This is something that I've used. What I would recommend is, if you're in your 20s, just go every 7 days. The least you can do is go every 7 days. And it gets less and less frequent as you age because there's less of that chi energy available. You'll start to get hot and heavy after 7 days if you are sort of a 20-year-old, because you have more vibrant energy within you. Life is sprouting out of you. So the least you can do is go once every 4 days, but I would recommend highly going once every 7 days. What happens is on day 5 and 6, you'll see your energy, your testosterone spiking through the roof. You'll get this glow about you, but also if you go to the gym, you'll start to be able to lift heavier weights than ever before. And that's because there's a study that's been shown that if you go 7 days, on days 5, 6, and 7, your testosterone goes above 100%. And then it comes back down to its neutral functioning levels after day 7, right? So if you're in your 30s, go every 8 days, 40s every 16 days, 50s every 21 days, and over 50 and around 60s every 30 days. Okay, and with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. And also, I'm super excited to announce, as I mentioned before, the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery program is now open. Please make sure you click on the link in the description below to sign up for that. And who we typically work with are as follows. People who are professionals, first of all, they're really looking to transition out and start up their own businesses, something that gives them that time, financial, location freedom, but also helps them break out of that compulsive pattern of, I got to do a 9 to 5 that they've been doing their whole lives and they've been conditioned to believe is the only way, and climbing up the corporate ladder. If that sounds like you, if you want to start up your own business and you find that the only barrier is the internal one, because of this internal barrier, the right business opportunities are right under your nose, but they're not even sticking. You just jump from one opportunity to the next. And I invite you to sign up for this consult and let's see if we're able to help. People who are entrepreneurs as well, you're stuck at a certain revenue level, you want to scale up and make more money, you have the business coaches, tactics, and strategies. It was never a tactical or strategic problem, but rather an internal one. Who you are is only worthy of the 5K, the 10K months, and that's what you keep staying stuck at. If that sounds like you want to scale up and shift the internal world to do so, click on the link in the description below to sign up, and let's see how we can help. And also the free Facebook group is open for you to take advantage of. If you are going to request it, by the way, it is for people who are entrepreneurs and professionals and high performers. Okay, if that's not you, please don't request this group. It's very, very selective. We only let a select group of people in based on the survey. So if you do request it, please make sure you fill up the 3 questions that you'll find as you request it, right? And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, peace.